Hi guys, welcome back to No Place to Be. Alex here. It has been almost 3 years to the day that I released this video. In that video we addressed, was this a great first bike? Well, today, 10,000 miles later, we're going to be revisiting that. I'm going to address the last 10,000 miles, what we've accomplished on this bike, whether I still love it as much as I did in that video, and whether I still believe this is a good first bike. We've done tours, we've had friendships made on it, we've been everywhere around the UK, and maybe more to come this year. Well, let's get cracking and let's review this bike once again.
Right guys, so I first just wanted to talk about why I actually bought a T120. Well, in summer of 2020 the world went into lockdown and it was an absolute joke. The only thing we could do was ride as bikes and just kill time on wars on Call of Duty, and that's exactly what we did. Anyway, through riding the bikes, me and James started to discuss the possibility of actually buying a real motorbike and getting out there and seeing more of the world. It was then we started to look around on YouTube, and for me, I instantly liked the T120. I just thought it looked sick. So yeah, we started going around to dealerships, and I remember we saw one and we asked the guy in the shop to start one up, and I heard the engine go and I just thought, this is unreal. So yeah, it was at that moment I decided, yeah, I'm definitely getting one of these. Anyway, to cut a long story short, obviously I passed my test, went through everything, and I ended up actually getting a T120. So yeah, passed the test, and it just so happened that the shop where the guy started the engine actually had a T120, so I bought it from the same shop. James got his, and the dream was made. Both of us were owners of Triumph bikes. So yeah, the first few hundred miles were obviously a little apprehensive. I was a little bit nervous about stepping off of a smaller bike onto a bigger bike. Just to put into context, I learnt on a Triumph Street Triple, which is a 600cc bike. So yeah, the biggest step up for me was the difference in weight. I felt the power was relatively similar. I felt pretty confident on the clutch, but for sure the weight was the one area where I was a little bit nervous. So the Street Triple weighs around 150 and the T120 weighs around 220. So yeah, it's a significant step up there. The first few hundred miles I was definitely getting used to that. It was a little bit unstable at slower speeds as to what I was used to. But as soon as I got used to that, the bike started to come into its own. Obviously I addressed this in the first video a few years ago. But yeah, as soon as I got used to it, for me it was a perfect beginner bike. I felt the linear power delivery was fine and smooth. The clutch control was great, and the way it actually changed gears was so smooth that I didn't really have to worry about anything unpredictable happening. So yeah, we started to go out, we were doing little tours around Wales, and this is when we discussed the idea of doing a bigger tour on the T120. And so in 2022, me, James and Matt did the trip of a lifetime. I really felt this was a coming of age story. Be sure to check out the videos of the actual trip itself, but I want to focus on the bike during this video. So we decided to take the bikes up to Scotland. It was a great time, unbelievable memories made. And yeah, I want to talk about how the bike formed. So in terms of actually chugging through the miles, 3 or 4 hours a day, it was relatively comfy. I've got a custom Motone seat on mine. Matt hasn't got one on his T120, but yeah, overall I don't think we really had any sore asses beyond what you'd expect of riding a bike for that long anyway. So yeah, the actual bike itself, we were getting about 60 mpg out of it. The luggage options were fairly limited, but I don't think they were too bad. So the way we packed it is we packed the Wingman of the Road tents on the back of the bike, which were fairly bulky, and then we had some panniers where we just basically chucked all his clothes in for the few weeks. I think if I was to do this again, what I'd do is take a more compact tent. I'd get a roll bag and get a tail extension on the T120, and yeah, I'd just chuck it all in a roll bag and put it on the back. For me, it was a bit of a ball ache getting the panniers on and off every day where you need to sit down, go to a hotel or set up camp. So yeah, there's a picture on the screen there of our actual setup. As you can see, the tent's fairly bulky on the back. Quite convenient in that it's an all-in-one tent. Again, we've reviewed this separate, but that was our setup. So the bike itself, the only complaint I've got on the T120, and it's more of a complaint on naked bikes in general, is obviously when you're doing quite a lot of riding and you go in 50 and above, the wind does become a factor.
Yeah, go on.
I think the positive of it being a heavy bike on the motorway, it's very planted. The downside of it being a naked bike is definitely when you're doing these kind of speeds, as you see on the film right there, the wind is definitely pounding against your chest. It does become a bit annoying. You can get the windscreen protectors, which is something I've got. I've not yet tried and done a comparison of how it feels, so that's something I need to do. But yeah, the wind is definitely a factor. It's very strong against you, and it's something just to be wary of if you plan on doing bigger tours more consistently than what we do. But overall, the bike performed perfectly on country roads, highway roads, everything there, and we got some great looks and conversations started. I think it's a bike that not a lot of people consider for touring, but if you only plan on doing one a year, maybe even 2 a year, I think it's definitely a bike that you could do. And we've also done plenty of weekend trips to Wales and so on, and for me it's a perfect bike. It's an all-rounder bike. I can use it in a city, I can use it on a country road, and as you can see, I used it for 2 weeks in Scotland. And so that brings me on to the last few thousand miles. It's been an incredible journey to get to this point. I've got to say that biking in general, after doing Wales and Ireland and all these big Scotland trips, that going to the Peak District or going on little day rides doesn't hit as hard as it once did when I first got the bike. That's nothing against the T120. I think it is just something to know that if you are starting biking, I think you've got to keep it exciting and plan new things to make sure that you keep that interest sparked. So as I said, the last few thousand miles hasn't been as inspiring as it once was, and so that comes down to us and what we need to do to change that. We've got some massive things planned this year on the channel in terms of what we want to do. I don't want to put it in this video because we've got a big reveal coming in the next few weeks, so make sure you subscribe to see what that is, but let me tell you, it's not one to miss. So overall, my thoughts on the T120. I do not regret getting this bike at all. I think it's been unbelievable. I've said it throughout the video and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, but the way this bike is just so well rounded in what it can do is, for me, why I was drawn to it in the first place. I think the looks combined with the performance is unbelievable. The memories we've made on this is something that I never really considered when I was buying a bike. I just thought, oh, yeah, it looks cool and, you know, we'll just drive it around and it'll be quite fun. But to actually do the trips that we've done on it have been unreal. Looking back at some of this footage that I've compiled for this video has been really fun. So yeah, I would recommend this for anyone who wants a classic style bike that looks mean, styled perfectly and performs really well. As a first bike, 10,000 miles later, I've had no issues from the beginning, and it's something that I would recommend to anyone to at least consider. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to hit like, subscribe, and let us know down below what you're thinking as a first bike and why. We'd be more than glad to answer any questions on our experience, and if there's anything you want to know, again, just ask it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.